Hello, welcome to or back to Sophisticakes by Mary. For this tutorial, I'm going to do a cake with my favorite Christmas colors. I absolutely love the shimmery blue, silver, and white combination. And for this cake, we're going to do a couple different ways to use the same texture mat and another texture in the buttercream and some chocolate spheres and ornaments. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm gonna make the patterned lace first of all, and I'm just gonna use a silicone mat that you can use for fondant or you can use it for edible lace. But in this case, I'm gonna use rice paper. And I'm just going to add it to some water in this little pulsing chopping machine that I have. It's a Ninja, I believe is what it's called. Now, I'm going to leave the recipe in the description box, but what this basically is the edible, flexible crinoline recipe that I have done in previous videos. But this time I'm adding a little bit of shimmer, a little pearl dust to it, but it's exactly the same thing, just used in a different way. So that's what it looks like before you put it on the mat and dry it. But basically, just go ahead and spread it out on your mat and try to make sure that you've got it in all the little nooks and crannies. This is thin, so it should work its way in pretty easily, but go ahead and just kind of go over it with your spatula just to make sure that it is everywhere you need it. And your oven is going to be preheated to the lowest setting, whatever that lowest setting is on your oven. At the bakery, I believe it's 170 degrees. I believe it is. And bake that in 10-minute increments. Just check it every 10 minutes until it is dried and basically lifting up from the mat. Then you know it's ready to be taken off of the mat. But let it sit and cool for a little bit before you do that. You can see how translucent that is, and you can see that pretty pattern, and it's flexible now. It is going to get more flexible as it cools and sits. I don't know why, but it gets more flexible. Now we're going to leave that to the side and go ahead and crumb coat our cake. Now you can tell this cake was not level. It was bulging off to the side a little bit, and that's because I did not do a dam, guys. Do a dam. I didn't practice as I preach. I didn't do a buttercream dam. So as I was assembling it, it was wanting to slip around a little bit. So I threw it in, well, I didn't throw it. That wouldn't help. I put it in the freezer just to let that filling firm up. And then I'm going to use the buttercream, or I used the buttercream to kind of level it out a little bit. Just fill in a little bit more where you need to and make sure that your scraper is 90 degrees to the table and to the cake. And then your cake should end up being more level on the sides. Now I'm using that same mat. Wash it off and let it dry. And I'm using the exact same mat. And all this is my American buttercream. I had measured the height of this cake. And now this is only going to work around a 6-inch cake. Any bigger and your mat's not going to be wide enough. So just keep that in mind. And I'm just using the buttercream. I did sky blue and the white. And I just kind of merged them together with my spatula where the two colors met to make it a softer line. I just kind of used that spatula to blend them together a little bit. And then just get this part, the back side, this is your back side. Get that as level as you can, just so that you get a better finish on your cake. I'm using acetate sheet, and I cut it to the circumference again. I'm just doing this to kind of make sure that that silicone mat does not fall down on top of the cake, because it's much taller than the cake. And I just sprayed a little bit of water on that acetate sheet, and it's going to stick just fine with just the water. Now, I set that aside while I put on a thin coat of buttercream on top of that crumb coat. That cake had sat in the freezer for probably about 15 minutes. So this second layer of buttercream that I put on there is going to help the the silicone mat stick, the buttercream that's on the silicone mat. Otherwise, that buttercream would have been really cold and it might not want to attach. And I used that tape just to secure it. Popped it back in the freezer for another good 30 to 40 minutes. Now I'm going to make those really pretty ornaments. I found these, actually it's for cocoa bombs. This is one of those 3-part pieces that you can use to make cocoa bombs, but it's in the shape of an ornament, and I had to get it. And this is what I decided to use it on, was this cake. Now, I don't know how I have the exact measurement of how much to put in it. I probably should have read the directions, but I just eyeballed it. There's a little bit of extra around those ornaments, but you can break that off very easily. And put those in the refrigerator to firm up as you are getting these ornaments done. Now, these are just going to be spheres, and I'm just using silicone half sphere molds. I'm doing 2 different sizes with the silicone, and then I'm using these other acetate plastic molds. These I'm just filling up all the way, but the silicone ones, you can see it off to the side there. I tipped it upside down on the mat. That way your extra chocolate, this is just candy melts. I used sky blue candy melts. The extra chocolate is going to kind of drip down to the mat, and it gives you a bigger surface area to attach the 2 pieces together. Instead of just melting that fine, if your edges are too thin, they're not gonna, it's gonna be harder to assemble them. So if you tip it upside down like that, it puddles around the perimeter of it on the inside, and that helps. Now these pull away very easily, and what I'm doing first is just kind of breaking off gently the extra pieces of chocolate. Now you're gonna stick these on a warm pan, to get them to stick together, so that will help you remove the extra if you can't get it all off. There you can see where it has puddled, and you just have a much better surface area to stick the 2 together. Now once your cake has firmed up, go ahead and take it out of the freezer and gently remove that silicone mat. If it is firmed up enough, that will come off very easily, and you're just left with your pattern. Did you know you could do that? I think that's a pretty cool trick. I love texture, and that's a pretty easy way to do it. Another way to use your silicone mats. They're so useful. I love them. Now we're doing kind of a fault line effect here. You know, I can't just leave well enough alone. I have to keep adding elements. And I wanted one more form of texture, so I used my comb, a cake comb, to create these lines. Now I've been wrestling with my buttercream. I have a question for you guys. Is anybody else having problems with their buttercream kind of crumbling on them? Like it seizes up. I don't know if they have added water to the butter that I'm using, or if they're adding something to powdered sugar now because of the way the world is right now. I don't know. Our buttercream is not acting like it normally does. Let me know if you've had any similar experience or have some helpful hints on that, because we've tried everything. Anyway, back to the chocolate. Just warm up your pan, but don't leave it on the skillet. Warm it up, take it off of the heat, and then put your spheres upside down on the skillet so that it melts the chocolate, and stick them together and remove the excess with your finger. Now once I got all those done, I'm just using pearl dust, and I'm using a silver luster dust. Some on the pearl on some and the silver on others, just to get different shades. And I just love that iridescent shimmeriness look to these. I think that makes them look way more like real ornaments. And then I'm just painting the luster dust, the silver luster dust mixed with Everclear on the top for that. What is that called? A toggle? Is that what the top of your ornament's called? Trivia question. And then I'm brushing on some more of that opal sheen on the rest of the cake too. Also on those ornaments and those spheres, you could fill those with candy. I just didn't have any candy on hand, but you could do that to make it even more extra special. And now I'm just adding some dragées to where that fault line is, just to kind of bring that out. You don't have to do that, but I never know when to stop. And then these are sixlets that I am adding also. So I have 2 different sizes of dragées and the sixlets. I'm not going to leave them white. I'm going to paint those with that same silver luster dust mixed with Everclear. So if you don't have dragées, the right metallic color that you need, it's okay. You can paint them. I mean, it's one extra step, but hey, at least you're not taking the step to go to the store and buy more of your dragées, right? And I'm just using a smaller brush because some of these are very small. Now to get those ornaments attached, I'm just using a little bit of buttercream. You could use the same color buttercream as the buttercream that you're attaching it to. If you're worried about it being obvious, I've just learned how to kind of camouflage that. That way I'm just using only one buttercream, one bag. And to get this one on the top, I just used a skewer. I kind of drilled a little hole in where the two pieces met gently. You don't want to break it apart. And then I turned it upside down so that not the pointy end is on the inside of that ball, but it's the flatter end, so it's not going to poke through your chocolate. Now just kind of arrange those as they look good as you put them on. You don't always have to have a preconceived idea, exactly what you want. It kind of designs itself sometimes. And then I'm just breaking up these little lacy pieces of the flexible rice paper recipe. I'm just adding them in here and there in between the ornaments and the spheres, just to kind of give kind of like a little icy effect. That's what it looks like to me, like a little bit of frost, a little bit iciness. And then I added a few more of those 6-slits on the top and on the side there just to tie it together, and painted those also. So there you go, guys. We are getting closer and closer to Christmas, so I'm needing just a couple more cakes, maybe one more. And I hope you're excited about Christmas as I am, if you celebrate Christmas, and if you don't, well, I hope you're enjoying these cakes anyway. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.